The Auburn Tigers welcome the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Certainly neither you or I have ever had a run-in with their fan base or their team. But either way, Coastal Carolina goes to Plainsman Park. Coastal obviously winning the Conway Regional. I don't know what the bigger storyline was, the stuff that happened not between the white lines or the actual regional itself.
Or your comment about there's more to the story.
Or that too. But either way, Coastal comes out of it. Really good ball club. Been a really, really good team all year. Their head coach, Schnall, which I want to say I do like Kevin Schnall. I think he's a really good coach. All the other stuff aside, but Kevin Schnall brings his team in. It's a really good team. We've seen them go toe-to-toe with SEC competition all season long. Obviously, they didn't have to face Florida because East Carolina disposed of them for them, but they beat a solid East Carolina team that was red hot, beat them 1-0 in that regional final to punch their ticket. Harrison for Auburn, kind of like LSU, or not like LSU, like Arkansas. It was very ho-hum, very businesslike. Swept the regional. The games weren't really all that close either. I mean, Auburn kind of dominated the regional, and certainly they've been one of the best teams in college baseball. They've got a fantastic core of young players. And Harrison, you mentioned earlier in the week, the first super regional in the history of Plainsman Park, and I think in Auburn baseball history, which is just still doesn't sound right because while it's not a program with the most tradition, I mean, they got a pretty good program. So that surprised me either way. Plainsman's going to be jumping. You talked about this last week, Harrison, and we saw it that they had added extra seating and they want to bring even more people in there. And so, this weekend is going to be absolutely crazy. But here comes Coastal Carolina, national champions in 2016. They will not be intimidated. They will not be fazed. Your thoughts on this one, Harrison? This Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if necessary. Of the three SEC Supers, Harrison, believe it or not, I think this is the one that may have the best chance to get really wacky and weird. I don't know what there's some gut feeling that I think this Super could just get off the rails a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong. Either way, it's going to be a fun weekend down the Plains. Your thoughts, Auburn, Coastal, who you picking? And I guess the question I should be asking you now is this as we go into this. Does the SEC get 3 teams in Omaha?
I think this is going to be an interesting regional from the fact for the SEC that it's the more quiet one in terms of teams, because obviously LSU, the fan base, the history, the program prestige. Any of our Arkansas, Tennessee match it up head-to-head, rematch, all the storylines with Tony Vitello and Dave Van Horn, everything surrounding that, 2 of the best programs in the country the past couple of years. Even the history of Auburn hosting their first super regional ever in program history. It's been fun to watch because Coastal Carolina, yes, is our mid-major, but they play with the big boys constantly. They play at that level. They recruit at that level. Kevin Schnall did a great job after succeeding. Gary Gilmore, one of the best head coaches in college baseball history. And I think such a notable coach that, winning a national title as a mid-major and what that means. And not even for Coastal Carolina itself, but what does that mean for mid-major across the country? I mean, we've seen it Stony Brook, Cal State Fullerton, Fresno State, right? We talked about how, and you specified on it a lot, how this is kind of it feels like the end of the mid-major run. It really does, just kind of with NIL, the revenue share, the transfer portal specifically. Coastal Carolina and others, UTSA, Murray State said, to hell with that. Watch this. And Coastal Carolina's going to march their way down to Plainsman Park and give Auburn hell because they are such a good pitching staff, Chris. They have, by far, I think, a better pitching staff than Auburn, surprisingly, I think, in this series statistically. And sure, if you want to lean on that being the Sun Belt Conference, sure, you can lean on that. But, I mean, it's postseason baseball. You still have to get through the postseason, which they've done up to this point. But they've got a really good 3-man rotation of Jacob Morrison, Riley Elkoff, and Cameron Flukie, who all have sub 3.2 ERAs, all have a sub 1.1 whip. And it's just been unbelievable there. I think it's, 25-3 record. I mean, obviously that helps when you win over 40 games, but just the way that they pitch and lean on their pitching staff is so good. I mean, talk about how, bombs at the beach, right? When they play at home, they only had 62 home runs this season as a team. Auburn had 84. It's going to come down for me to Auburn facing this pitching staff, and can they have enough offense production? And then can Coastal's pitching staff limit Auburn's hitting? Because I think Auburn has by far a better offensive lineup and statistical production throughout it in almost every category. But Coastal's mound presence and just execution on the mound, I think, is so much better. It's going to come down to that. But there's something that's just brewing, Chris. There's something brewing down in Auburn, Alabama, in Plainsman, and this team that they've proven no matter what. They don't have the big names. They don't have, the big draft picks, first round, top of the first round, Golden Spikes guys. They've gone around the SEC and beaten down a lot of teams. They beat LSU. They beat Tennessee. They beat all these other teams in the SEC to end up with a number 4 hosting seed, national seed in the country. People still doubting them, say they shouldn't have deserved that. They're going to prove everyone wrong this weekend and get back to Omaha with a massive, massive series win in 3 games. 3 games, because I think this Coastal pitching staff is that legit and that good. I don't know who on Coastal's pitching staff I like the best in this spot necessarily. If I had to lean one, it'd probably be Cameron Flukie, just with how much of a strikeout pitcher and just power pitcher he is in executing, expanding the zone. But it's gonna be a fun one to watch. I think all of them are gonna be fun, but I think the SEC, this is gonna be a kind of a quiet, fun one to watch, just kind of a more of a matchup situation. But give me the Tigers to return back to Omaha and win their first Super Regional hosting series in program history. And
Harrison,
that's 3 in Omaha.
That's 3. Yeah, we're guaranteed 1. That's why we have both at LSU. That's 2, and Auburn would be 3. Harrison, I should have mentioned this too when we were talking about the LSU Super, and it goes without saying, but I think this one especially, we talked about, and you and I both love college baseball, so we love the upsets. But let me be selfish here for a moment and speak from a selfish vantage point. This is a really big weekend for the SEC, and this is a big Super for the perception of the conference. Fairly, unfairly, I get it. Upsets happen. I think to say the SEC had a down year because because there were upsets in the regionals, it's a bit unfair because this game is so wacky. Harrison, you and I both know that. But perception is reality, right? It just is. Whether you like it or not, it is. If Auburn were to lose to Coastal on their home field, the college baseball fans and everybody would love it because the Cinderella. It'd be a brutal look for the conference. It just would. There's no other way to spin it.
Let alone the rest of the college baseball world, would never let the SEC hear.
No, they wouldn't.
They haven't.
No.
They've been giving it hell of the SEC.
Yeah, there's been an attack on the SEC over the last week or so, which it is what it is when you're at the mountaintop. Everybody wants to swing up and take shots. It is what it is.
When you have one average year, but you also have 13 teams in the postseason.
Yeah. No, I mean, and we could spend a whole other show just talking about that topic alone. But anyways, this is a huge Super for the conference. You want to get as many teams in Omaha as possible. So you want to max out and get 3 in. And it's a shame, obviously, that Tennessee and Arkansas are playing each other, because I think both, you could argue, are Omaha caliber and both deserve to go. Either way, Harrison, I'm just going to say this. I need Auburn to win this Super more than I need air to breathe. After the last few days or so, Coastal Carolina going to Omaha will be my personal hell if they do make it. I'll probably have to wear a helmet around the city for at least during the time they're there.
And you will have to buy, I believe, a Coastal Carolina jelly shot.
And I'll do that. I have no problem doing that. And maybe those in person, I'm sure those in person will be more hospitable than maybe some of those on Twitter. But either way, yours truly's presence has been felt in the Myrtle Beach area. So there's not a lot of positive feelings, I think, from that crew. Either way, I don't think I'm going to have to worry about that, because I do think Auburn's going to get the job done. Like you said, Auburn, for whatever reason, it's so easy to sleep on them or kind of forget them or take them lightly, I guess. I mean, Harrison, there's a reason a couple weeks ago I ranked them number 1 in my power rankings, and whatever that means.
And then they got swept at Ole Miss.
No, they lost 2 or 3.
They lost
2 or 3. But I think really the principle of it, and the point I was trying to make was, like, this is a team of that caliber that we need to be putting that respect on. I think Samuel Dutton's going to set a great tone for them. I love their young core, like we've talked about so many times. It goes so far beyond the names Ike Irish, Cooper McMurray. I mean, what Chris Rembert has done has been incredible. Derek Fabian's a really, really solid player. I mean, you go down the list of guys, this Auburn team, what Butch Thompson has built.
Chase Fralick, too. He's played a huge role.
Fralick's been awesome.
Huge. I mean, they're all playing like sophomores, it feels like, Chris.
Well, at this point in the year, like, you're not really a freshman anymore. Like, at this point in the year, you've played a lot of baseball. Like, you're kind of not really a freshman anymore. Although, again, this is their first postseason experience.
Yeah.
So,
but I think Chase Fralick's the most important of the three freshmen, just from a catcher role and just what he means to the lineup on both sides, playing in such a premier position.
I think so. Yeah. Again, Chase Fralick has been such a key piece for them. I think Auburn at home, Plainsman Park is rocking. I would agree with you. I will not be surprised if it goes 3 games because I do want to be complimentary and say Coastal Carolina's got a hell of a club, but Auburn's going to shove it up their ass, and they're going to go take that series. They're going to go to Omaha, and this will all be just kind of a fun thing we look back on. Say, remember that time Chris and Coastal, for whatever reason? And by the way, I don't even really hate Coastal Carolina. I have no reason to. It's just it kind of turned into this funny thing, I guess, after the
3.1 million views on it. There's more to the story.
I don't know, man. And also, too, like, I really don't have any problems with Kevin Schnall. I think he's a really good coach, and you know, obviously it speaks for itself where they are, what they did this season, where they're at, and they could go in and win this Super. I don't think they're going to. I think Auburn, again, on a mission, Butch Thompson and company. I love Auburn, what they've got on the mound in this one. I think they shut down Coastal swinging the bats, and I think they do enough. They'll get the job done, punch the ticket to Omaha. Auburn going to remind everyone just how good of a program this has been, because you look back at the history, they've got more than a handful of Omaha appearances over the last 5 years or so, been one of the best in college baseball, and I think they will do it yet again. And the SEC does get 3 in Omaha. And Harrison, really quickly, we forgot to mention this. Our friends over at FanDuel, Auburn is -160 to win the Super. Coastal Carolina +124. The other SEC Supers, LSU -430. Massive favorites. West Virginia is +300.
Wow.
And in the Fayetteville Super, Harrison, Arkansas -146. Tennessee +114. So pretty close odds, but
the -146 surprises me. I thought it'd be like a 130 maybe.
They're like you. They like the hog pen. They're feeling good about the hog pen, man.
What's there not to like?
What's there not to like about the hog pen?
Still haven't been. We're working on that for next year.
We're going to get there for sure.
Working on the hospitality.